been set for Aretha Franklin's funeral. It's to be held in Detroit on August 31st. However, her family is already scrambling to try and secure her legacy because this is so hard to believe. After 76 years, Aretha Franklin didn't find any time at all to write a will and leave one behind for her family. Now, a recent survey showed only 4 out of 10 Americans have a will or living trust. And Franklin's attorney says these situations always end up in a fight. Tim Moore was a wealth advisor and author of Simple Money. You know, that's the word, Tim. It seems simple. Is it very common? We just heard the statistic there that people do not leave behind a will, people like Aretha Franklin, and why?
Paula, it's simple, but it's not easy. And there are a couple of reasons for that. First off, in terms of estate planning, that is a pretty intimidating phrase that folks who aren't Aretha Franklin are probably thinking, I don't have an estate. But one thing that applies to all of us, including Prince and Aretha Franklin, is we don't generally like to consider the inevitable demise, right? And so we don't want to think about death. It tends to be one of those conversations we actually avoid instead of taking care of it. But it is a vitally important financial planning to do.
We can understand how it's important for Aretha Franklin. I think some people who don't have money wonder why it's important for them. I want to highlight something that you said to us earlier, that these are the most important, you say, love letters that you'll ever write to those that you love. What do you mean by that?
Absolutely. When you write your will, for example, you're dictating an awful lot more than just what you want your assets to do. I'll give you a great example. A young couple with young children might think, well, what need do I have for a will? We don't have a whole lot of assets, but it's in your will that you will actually stipulate the guardian provisions. In other words, it's where you decide who the new parents would be for your kids in the case that, heaven forbid, mom and dad go on a cruise and the boat goes down. So there are numerous elements inside of a will that don't necessarily apply strictly to financial provisions that are important for all of us.
And we're going to learn, unfortunately, the consequences for Aretha Franklin's family, that she didn't have a will. What are normally the consequences if you don't have one? Again, not just in the United States, but around the world as well.
Sure, if you die intestate, it's normally going to be in the hands of, if you are in the United States, the state and a judge who makes decisions. But around the world, the point is it's probably not going to be in your hands or perhaps even in the hands of your heirs. Someone else is going to come in and be making these important decisions for you.
Okay, Tim, here's one for you, though. A lot of people think not only do I not have anything, I'm actually in debt up to my ears. So at the end of the day, why have a will? Because I think people feel as if you will not leave your family to deal with that if you don't have a will. Is any of that true?
Well, I understand that hesitancy. If you're thinking, well, I don't want them to have to deal with it. Well, guess what? They're precisely the ones who will have to deal with it if you don't lay the word down yourself. So what it does is it gives us an opportunity to have some say, to have some control, even from the grave, so that our friends and family members don't have to make those decisions on our behalf.
But even if you have zero money, even if you owe $200,000, $300,000 on a house or even, you know, credit card bills, what people assume that they have more protection with that debt if they don't leave a will.
No, and sure, that is actually a mistake to think that that is not the case. But we'll go back to the non-financial provisions that you may stipulate inside of your will as probably the best example for why you don't want to use that as your excuse.
Interesting. Okay, we will see what happens with Aretha Franklin. Unfortunately, this means it will likely stay in the news for some time to come. Tim, thanks. Appreciate it. Very good, solid advice there. Appreciate it. Now, if you want to keep on top of the day's business headlines in just 90 seconds and try our daily briefing podcast, it's updated twice a day before and after the bell rings on Wall Street. You can also just ask Alexa on your Google Home device for your CNN Money Flash briefing, and that's every weekday. Now, we just want to give you a quick reminder of how markets finished the day. Remember, we were saying the sell-off started a little bit after lunchtime. The Wall Street actually shrugged off the political news, but still a sell-off there, down better than about 88 points, even after Donald Trump's former attorney directly implicated the president in crimes. Now, the S&P, in the meantime, was flat. The NASDAQ was up a slight bit. And of course, we were reminding you this comes on a historic day for markets with the longest bull market in history. And that's it for Quest Means Business today. I'm Paula Newton. I will see you right back here again tomorrow.